Show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robyn are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robyn on the mic.
Welcome to Lisa and Robyn on the mic. You are listening on WSMN, 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, Facebook, YouTube, and if you don't catch us live, please catch us on Spotify. I am required by someone to say like, subscribe, follow, 5-star, all of the things that are free, that are helpful to some crazy computer algorithm.
Yes.
And happy Thursday.
Grow with us.
Yes, grow with us.
Yes. Happy Thursday. I feel like it's been
growing
a
right
long
now, girl.
week. Me too. I'm healing. I'm in healing mode. So
yeah,
we over a cold.
We all need some healing, huh?
Yes. We need some sunshine and we need some Caribbean air.
Where would you want to go right now if you could go on vacation?
I would go to Aruba.
You would go to Aruba.
Yeah.
I would go to Aruba too.
I'd also go to Fiji. I'd also go to Bora Bora. I don't know. I would go to the Bahamas. See, I feel like the Bahamas is kind of last on my list just because, and not that I don't think it's beautiful, just because I think that it's so many people travel there. I feel like it's Disneyland or
Really?
Disney
Okay.
World for with that, what's the big resort there with the water park and
Atlantis?
Yes. I feel like that's Disneyland, and I'm like, so maybe, I would be interested in doing it if you did an Airbnb and you're away from people and you got to experience a little more of the island. But it doesn't check off. But again, I could.
I think I want to do it on a boat.
Yes.
Because there's all of those little islands.
Yes.
So I think, but I don't want to be on a boat with strangers. And I don't want to be on a big boat. I would want to be on some kind of sailboat, catamaran type with 8 of us.
Yes.
And charter, someone chartering it and just doing that. I think that would be fun.
Yes, that would be fun. We could be on the flight this afternoon to Florida. Don't get me wrong, but it's cold there.
They got snow.
I know. I saw that at
snow.
St. Pete. Boo, that's not good.
All that global warming.
Where'd the sand go? It's hiding under all that white stuff.
When do you think the last time it snowed in Florida?
Oh, I don't know.
Probably 100 years.
Maybe. Yeah. No, can't be.
Can't be that long?
Mm-mm. I feel like they had some ice and stuff, a cold snap not long ago. We have a friend of ours that lives down there near Orlando.
I know that they've had a cold snap, but really snow? Snowflakes? Snow?
I'm gonna see.
We're gonna look that up. How is everyone this week? Has everyone had a good start to their January? Someone was saying yesterday, "Oh yeah, it's almost the end of the month." I'm like, don't do that. I know we have a week left.
January 3rd, 2022, when a light snow flurries observed in Walton County, located in the Florida Panhandle.
Okay. All right, so not that long ago. Look at me, 100 years. Those poor people don't have jackets, and they definitely don't have plows.
Yeah. So, fun fact down there.
So I was going through paperwork because I'm doing taxes. And I found this great book, which is a workbook, and it's called The Desire Map, A Guide to Creating Goals with Soul. And the whole idea of this book, I'm actually waving it so that you can see the cover, is your goal should be based on how you want to feel. Because every time we set a goal, we either don't achieve it and feel really bad about ourselves, or we achieve it, but we don't celebrate and we just move the goalpost. And are the goals even really your goals? Are these your desires?
Right.
Is this your intention? Or is this what society sets up for you? What your parents set up for you?
Or the expectation. I remember my parents saying, When they were graduating high school, it was the thing to do is you got a job, the rich people, there's only like 2 or 3 that actually went to college out of their school. So an it was not a popular thing. A lot of people couldn't afford it, and it just seemed like it was
Well, you needed a reason to go. You were a doctor, a lawyer. There were certain professions
right.
that.
But for the majority of people, it was like, no, you didn't. You got married, you got a good job, you got married, you had kids. And we push this, get married, have kids, have a family. And a lot of times people don't realize that they didn't want a family until after they had a family. And it's like, that's an example of society putting an expectation or putting, hey, this is how we all do life. It's not all how we do life. And actually I was thinking about it this morning because I was thinking about for my TED Talk for turning your burdens into blessings.
Ooh, that's really good.
And at some point, and it's kind of is desire, like at some point, the desire to have a car, the desire to have the house, the desire to have the vacations, all of those things were dreams when we're young. And now we see them as burdens, like stuck in traffic. We let that weigh us down, and having to
pay for it.
Well, having to make meals and having to do this, and now I'm responsible. Like I just made myself responsible for 4 other people or 3 other people, however many kids you have, or not getting cavities. So now I have to keep my own oral hygiene good. Now I'm responsible for like 2 other people of keeping their oral hygiene good too. So that could see Emma as a burden. But we forgot that one time that was a dream.
Yes.
And we get stuck on paying the bills and burdened down and of like, I'm going to pay the mortgage and blah, blah, blah. Man, you asked for this. We desired this. We dreamed it. And so it's really, I think, that shift in our heart that says, this isn't a burden. I asked for this. This is my dream. I'm living part of my dream in being in that abundance part of it. And I just think that difference is, like doing it with joy.
And I think that's actually that would be such a great TED Talk, because I also think there's so much out of our control with life, and we're each dealt a different set of cards, but you have to play your cards to the best of your ability.
Yes.
And also that what we see as a burden will remain an obstacle until we reframe it that there is some lesson that we can learn, that we can build resilience, we can build courage. There's so many things, strength, all of these positive traits that we can build in assuming our burden and making the best of it. Because life, it just has a way of, there's no getting away from that. And
it's not.
And I think of people, when I hear you say, family, okay, maybe I thought, okay, this is what I wanted. And then I got into it and I was like, wow, who knew there was this much responsibility and this much worry.
Right.
And this much obligation to, I really didn't fully understand that, but now you're in the thick of it.
Right.
But that's also, if you reframe it into this as a blessing, I have all these additional people.
It comes like, we get stuck in the grind of working the 40-hour weeks and working overtime, and I have to work on a Saturday, or, we get so locked up in our own head about burden, the stresses of work. It dominates our thoughts. Like, we don't walk in the door and being like, oh my God, I'm so glad to be home. But maybe they do. I'm so happy to be home and cook a meal and make a meal and look at what I have in like this space I can settle in. Again, home is your respite, the place that you rejuvenate. It's your soft spot. It's your landing pad. Instead of it being the burden, we don't enjoy it. When you say, well, I got to work to pay the mortgage and I got to work to do this. No, why does work take the forefront of everything we do? It's only a small portion. We literally should just be working to pay for our dreams.
Or maybe
our desires.
Right. Maybe what we maybe we feel that burdened by work because we don't really desire what we're doing.
True.
And so what I loved about this book when I got it way back when was just, it's a lot of run-on sentences and poems and pages of just...
Sounds like I wrote it.
Oh my God, feelings are magnetic. Each feeling is a beacon that attracts reality. Love attracts love. Generosity elicits a generous response. Anger creates more things that could make you more angry if you let it. What we focus on expands. We choose to I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. So choosing to focus on life affirming feelings is the surest way to create the experience that you want. And I think if we started talking about desires, so we talked about hormone health, which also talked to us about libido and being satisfied and feeling healthy and vibrant. And that was with Naomi Major from Integrated Health Alliance. And then we talked last week about sex, which is one obvious interpretation of desire. Right. But and I feel that desire is the engine that moves you through life. If you don't have desires, you really don't have a good life, because the desire is the impetus, it is the reason, it is the momentum, it is the it's the gas pedal that pushes you through. And if not, you could be, for example, the grass is always greener. That's a common saying, and it's a saying for a reason. And with social media, we see what other people have, and it appears that we're putting our social media together as a scrapbook of the best moments of our life, right? For the most part. And we're putting that forward, and then as you forget that as you're scrolling through it, that these are just the best moments, or I always look for the funny moments. Those are the ones I want. Pets and funny things.
Yes.
Is what I really look at that for. But what
you're looking for joy.
Yeah. But what we forget is that we can get confused by comparing our lives to somebody else's life, because we're comparing their best moment that they're showing in a snapshot to whatever moment we're in at the time.
Yes.
And also the comparison is, oh, I want to go on vacation there, I want to do that because I'm seeing it, but not because you truly desire it.
Right.
And if you consider it's goal setting. I hate goals in January. I'm a goals in April girl.
Yes.
Because spring is sort of the rebirth and growth and all of that stuff. I feel like winter is at least in New England, is a contraction period.
Yes.
So when I hear people
it's your respite.
When I hear people doing that, I still think this is a good incubation period to really get clear on what you need to do, and what you want your year to look like, but what you want your year to feel like. How do you want to feel?
What if you should start like your winter is it's your hibernation. It's your rest.
And it's the incubation.
Yeah.
Like when you said, I'm thinking my idea for the TED Talk is that turning your burdens into blessing, that incubates for a little while.
Yeah.
Because I think this constant content, this constant 24-hour news cycle, all the TV and all the Netflix and all of this stuff is wonderful. But what it fails to really expose is that good things take time.
Yes.
You don't see the backdrop of how long this took. And Kate Winslet was interviewed. She produced a movie, or directed a movie. I forget which, it doesn't matter. But she said, this was 11 years in the making. And they said, why did it take you so long? She goes, because no one talks about it, but I'm a woman and I had other priorities. I had children to raise.
Yeah.
So this couldn't be the idea that was 30 days to your new book, 30 days to your new movie, 30 days to your new life.
Everything happens when it's supposed to happen, if it happens. And sometimes, but we force our narrative, we try to force it. It's that typical saying that, we make plans and God laughs. It's true. It's whether it's God, whether it's the universe, it's that energy, your higher power, whatever it is. It's that if it's meant for us, it will find us. And we don't rely on that often
I don't rely
enough.
on that at all. I'm a forcer.
Well, I am too, to a certain point. Like, because I am going to try to do, and I mean, not to say, but I think that you have to do the work. And that's preparation. That's like preparing your field. So, you're preparing the field for the rain when it's going to come, so it will bloom. And you've planted all your seeds. So it's not... I have so many thoughts running through my head. And I wanted to say, we don't... so I was thinking about the winter. A good time it's for us to be still. Be still. And that's the incubation. That's the growth. That's we're planting our seeds. We're dropping these ideas. And then in the spring, it's time for action.
Yeah, because it's almost like we're letting them marinate to see if they are really our ideas.
Yes.
Did they come from someone else? And it's not to say that we don't get inspired from other people, because there is the idea of the muse, that things come to us, inspiration comes to us, motivation, ideas, that there's this dance with the creative elements of the world.
Well, I think it touches a part of your soul, or it touches a part of who you are. That's where I think that's what inspiration is to me. It touches on something inside of you. It moves you. And so you are drawn to it. You're curious about it. I just wanted to read, I think I might have been from that book, but yesterday I was doing a little bit of digging around and I didn't, so I'm sorry I don't want to run into copyright issues because I can't claim who said it.
Yeah.
Desire is the power of wanting. It's an engine of creativity and a purposeful force. When we desire something, we're willing to plot and plan to get it. Desire is something that we act upon. It's something for which we make sacrifices. It can make us angry, it can thrill us, or it can fill us with despair. In all cases, desiring something forces us to get creative in order to work out how we're going to get what we want. Desire is a force that pushes your evolution as a person.
And so I'm going to bring it back to our sex talk from last week when we were saying, because we weren't raised on it, we don't understand the app version of finding a mate or finding someone to date, because we sort of saw it as we didn't have exposure to it. That wasn't part of our world at the time. And also that, how do you desire, again, just a picture, how, where does the desire come from? And is it, I guess it's self-created but I think what we desire in a mate, sexually or for a long-term relationship, is to feel fulfilled, because we have certain desires. We want to feel wanted. We want to feel appreciated. We want to feel intelligent. We want to feel purposeful.
Sexy.
We want to feel
Funny.
sexy and funny. And it's in the desiring that we're projecting onto this person, I'm going to want you to make me feel that way. And either
That's
you
true.
do make me feel that way or you don't make me feel that way.
But I think that's alignment too. I think that's part of yin and yang. I think that's about the energy, the transference of energy. And
that's what I think is missing.
But do you feel like that we're created to have that desire?
Yes. Because I think even if you think of it from the sense of I'm hungry, I have the desire to eat.
Yes.
And back to what Johnny said, it's the pain, pleasure.
Pleasure, pain.
Yeah, I'm feeling pain. The desire to make this pain turn into pleasure makes me hunt and forage or make a meal.
Yes.
So I think...
Well, even like failed relationships, that's what makes me think about is, we always think that, this person doesn't do it for me anymore, or we're not aligned, or we're not doing this.
Oh, can I stop you for a second? This person's not doing it for me anymore. The idea that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, year after year, this person is going to be always doing it for us in that moment,
right,
is an unrealistic expectation.
Yes.
However, it is very common.
It is very common, but you also grow. You grow and you realize, well, maybe that desire is a little bit, you don't see it as lust. When you're coming together in a new relationship, there's all that excitement and all of these things, but 9 times out of 10, we just let it die. We let that part die off because we have responsibilities and we don't have the time, or we don't want to have the time.
And we think passion is something that's associated with newness, but I actually think passion is what is the long-term
it's something
verb
that you have
of
to
desire.
Yes.
Actually, I think desire turns into passion instead of the other way around.
So maybe desire is the spark and passion is the flame.
Yes. It's a long-term burning flame.
But, and so when that passion dims, we go outwardly and saying, oh, we're going to get a new thrill and we're looking for that dopamine rush. You don't really have to go outside of your relationship to get it. What you do is you have to double down and do the freaking work to bring that passion back. It's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't completely change, because I think that the things that fundamentally draw you to one person, I don't think they ever die. I don't think you ever lose that playfulness, that flirtiness, or whatever it is that draws you in, that magnetic energy that draws you and attracts you to somebody. That's just, I think that's fundamentally at the core of who they are, and whether we choose to work on it or not in that relationship. So I do think that you can bring passion back to your relationship.
Well,
but I think you have to have both parties participating.
Well, they say what you look for, you will find more of.
Yes.
So if you look for reasons to be upset with your partner, you're going to find plenty of reasons to be upset with your partner.
Yes.
And you'll find new ones every day.
Yes.
But if you're always looking for things to remember why you love your partner,
Yes.
you will find ways to remember why you fell in love with this person. And one of the most difficult things about long-term relationships is long-term relationships. You have to remain in sync to some degree while you're constantly changing.
Yes.
And while life is throwing curveballs at you all the time. That's the difficulties of long-term relationships. I'm the same person I was, but I'm a different person.
Well, we get knocked down. We get knocked down in the outside world. So let's talk about relationships. We get knocked down in the outside world. You know, a nasty boss, you know, a crappy deal that goes through, whatever sours us throughout the day. We come home, and how many times do we bring that with us? And so we're not seeing our bride or our groom in
our children.
In the beautiful, and our children in our beautiful light. You know, the cats don't do anything. They can't help. They don't know they're being annoying. But, you know, Milo wants to be cute, but he loves his wet food, and he will cry. And he's noticed, like, the more I get vocal and the more I'm, you know,
I'm rewarded.
I will show you. And I get annoyed. But you know what? When I stop and pause and think about it, he's just being him. I'm carrying my negative energy, and I'm using him as an outlet.
Yes.
To take out my frustration. And how many times do we do that in our partners? How many times do you walk in the door and you've had a crappy day, and, you know, you come in and say, like, well, they didn't pick up their shoes. They didn't do this. And they, you know, I walk in and the bed's unmade and this and this and this and this and this. You're piling on the negatives. You're not looking for the beauty. You're not looking for the joy. You're not looking for the joy. You're not looking for your gift.
Yeah.
You're not looking for your blessing. You're not seeing it as a burden. You're not walking in the door and feeling like, oh my God, am I having Italian tonight? What is that? You know, this person is in here creating a meal for me to end my day, to give me nourishment, or maybe it's your husband that's making the meal, or whatever it is. Or they go upstairs and they turn on all the lights for you ahead of time instead of, you know, or they set the scene, or they set the stage.
And then the spouse comes home, why do you always leave all the lights on?
Right. Right.
Oh, I thought I was doing you a favor and, like, illuminating your way into the house. No, you're burning electricity.
Yes.
You know how much that costs?
It's almost like we have to role play throughout the day. We do play roles. We're a mom, we're a dad, we're an aunt, we're an uncle, we're a boss, we're an employee. We're all of these different things so many times throughout the day that we forget, and we get stuck in just one role. We don't get this. You don't get to walk in the door. Like, how cool would it be if you could get to walk in the door and being like, you shut the door, you ended the day, like, I'm so glad that's over. Let's have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kids. You know, they can have a crappy day and they wake up in the morning. Think about waking up in the summer and you throw the covers off and you jump out of bed and, like, what's coming today?
I think that there is an epidemic of too much information that is out of our control, that we can't control, that we pick up and carry. So the world has always been a horrible, dangerous place. It has also always been a wondrous, magical, amazing place. And it's always been that simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And before, we didn't know that there was genocide over here and this happening over here. And I remember asking my parents when I read a World War II book, I was like, how could this happen? And they said, we didn't know. And you're in your head living in a world where information, you can look up anything at any time and get information on it. You think, how could you not know?
Yeah.
But they didn't know. It wasn't until it was physically seen and reported back of what actually happened
Right.
that you even had an inkling of what was happening. But I'm trying to think of where I was going with that. Oh, so that we have all of this information. And it's one of the reasons why in 2007 I stopped watching the news and cable television. Because I thought, I woke up this morning, I haven't had a cup of tea, the TV's been on, I have heard about 10 horrific things happening to people and animals across the planet that I have. Thanks for dropping that off
Right.
with me, but what am I supposed to do with it
Right.
besides feel angry and sad?
Right.
So I found that the less I exposed myself to it, which seems like you're putting yourself in a bubble and you're not living in reality, but I live in reality every day. I'm in reality.
Right.
But I can't handle everyone's reality. I can't handle a billion people reality.
So yesterday I was in the store and there was a lady going up and down the aisles and I had just run in really quickly, but Marshall's is having like a clearance sale. So I'm like, oh, I gotta check it out. So, you know, I'm
Retail
really-
therapy.
Yes. Yes. I don't feel good. I'm like, I feel like I've been like in prison in my house. Like, not that I don't like it, but I'm like, oh my God, there's civilization.
Yeah.
Anyway, she has her earbuds in and she's talking about the inauguration. And she's like, I used to turn the TV on when I get up in the morning. And she's like, but it's been all day. It's so much. It's too much. She literally said, it's too much. I just listening to this all day. And I just felt like saying,
Shut it off.
sweetheart, turn it off. Like, now you're telling me, you're telling everybody in Marshall's, and this poor person on the other end of it has to tell, like, how you don't have enough self-control to go turn the TV off. It's like you don't even have to get up and walk across the room anymore. You can literally, it's right at your fingertips. You probably only have to activate 5 muscles to turn it off. But yet she's like, now she's telling it. I'm like, it just made me realize, wow, she's carrying all of that with her. She's carrying all that energy and she's choosing to make her day all about that. Dude, when you walk in the store and you're in for retail therapy, man, you let all that crap go. You're just holding on to it and carrying it. So it's made me be more aware. It's helped me be more aware of the things that I'm carrying on the outside world that don't belong to me. They don't belong to me.
Yeah. And I think when we talk about, how do you want your life to look like? We say we want to make a certain amount of money. We want to do this. We want to get a promotion at work. We want this. We want to close a certain amount of deal. Like, these are the things. But if we reframed it to be a question that says, how do we want to feel? When you say, I want to make X amount of money, what are you really saying? I want freedom from having to live by a regimented budget that if I buy something that's not on my scheduled list, I
Yes.
can't afford it.
Right.
That's, for the most part. Or you're saying, I want to make enough money so that I can take care of my sick parent. I want to make enough money so I know my children have the things that they need. But really what we're looking for in a feeling when I say I want to make a certain amount of money, safety and freedom.
Yeah.
I think money and freedom
Security.
are
Yeah.
so linked, even more so than safety for me.
Yeah.
Safety for me is my home
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that's goose.
Well, maybe not safety, but a security.
But I think you're right.
You
I
do
think a
feel
lot of
safe,
people-
and you have a sense of that sense of security of knowing, like, okay, this isn't going to break me, or you don't want to be living like you don't have anything, you can't do anything, you don't have the money if all of a sudden your car breaks down.
Yep. Or you all of a sudden having a medical bill and now you can't think of taking care of yourself medically because you're like, I can't afford the bills to take care of
Right.
myself medically. So that was one, like, why do I want this amount of money? But if you say, how do I want to feel? I want to feel free. You can find another way into that feeling even if you don't make that amount of money. For example, if you're like, I need $100,000 to feel free, you can say, okay, I need to go make $100,000, which puts the burden of coming up with maybe your job, you don't make $100,000. Maybe your job, you make $50,000. You either have to get a new job. You know, it does help you line up certain things. But if you say, I want to feel free, you can say, is money the only thing that's not making me feel free? So then you could say, my job makes me feel trapped.
Yeah. Oh, you make a list. What makes me feel free? Here's
and
a good
what doesn't make me feel free?
Right. Here's a good example of, how many young couples, how many couples have young children, and the male, the guy, has a desire to say, I want you to come out of your job. I want you to stay at home. I want to be a provider. I want to be a provider. And so that you can stay at home and that you can, you can take care of the home. It is a desire for some people to do that, to bring their spouse and not have them work. But then you're struggling at work, and now all of a sudden you desired that too, and you had a goal for that person to stay at home, and now all of a sudden she's a target for you. Because you're blaming her. You're blaming her. You don't earn any money. You don't do this. Well, brother, you helped get her there.
Right.
At one point, now, were you being real and authentic? Were you both being real and authentic? And there's some people like, no, I want to do I want to get my kids in elementary school, and then I want to go back to work, or however it shakes out. Everybody has their own agreements, but there are lots and lots of people that make that agreement for one of them to stay at home. And all of a sudden, there's a lot of resentment building because maybe you're not being so successful in your job, or your job is stressing you out. You're carrying it home and you're taking it out on the thing that's supposed to help be a blessing. That's a blessing to you.
So what would it be a good conversation? I'm sure that happens a million times a day, everywhere, right?
Yes.
Where you make an agreement and then the going gets tough, and then the agreement that you both agreed to now isn't working.
You have a conversation to renegotiate. You don't blame. You don't blame and shame somebody into it. If you're having resentment, you need to pause and stop and think, hey, I really thought that this was a good idea. This was going to be a good idea, and this served us well. I don't feel like it's serving me the same way. Instead of blaming and just saying, hey, is there something? Having a conversation, actually talking to somebody like you love them.
Yeah. Again, how do I want to feel? I want to feel close and loving with my partner.
Right. And what makes me feel
I don't want to feel
way.
resentful
Right.
and blaming.
Right.
So it kind of coming back to feelings and emotions, which are two different things.
Yes.
An emotion is the mental label we attach to the feeling. So I'm feeling scared. I'm going to blame you for.
Yes.
So we both agreed you were going to stay home and I was going to go make money. Now something's changed at my job. Now I'm resentful and I'm blaming you because the feeling I had was that I wanted to be a good provider. I don't feel that way anymore. So now I emotionally attach, you're the reason why I'm not feeling that anymore because you're a drain.
Right.
So the emotions are the stories we attach to the feelings. The feelings are still okay.
But But now the other person is feeling like I'm not good enough. They're looking at, and that's building an insecurity, and it's building separation between people, and it's building resentment. Like, well, but you're not asking the right questions. You're just throwing your emotions back and forth. So I said something to Chris last night, and he got a little upset. Like, not upset, like he got a little upset. And I said it last night, and I said it again this morning. Like, there was no malice in it. He said, well, you said this. And I said, no, I didn't say that. I said this. These were my words. You're attaching your feelings to it. I'm telling you how this makes me feel. I'm not attaching. So it really is. When you hear something, we attach an emotion to it. And I said, that's not what I said. I was just giving you I was telling you what I think. I wasn't judging. I wasn't judging. I wasn't criticizing. I was not condemning. You literally asked me a question about what I think. And now that upsets you, and I'm like, no, I didn't say that that's what you were or what you're doing. I said that's how I perceive it. You are attaching an emotion to it. And I just think about, I was reflecting back, like, well, how many times do I do that? How many times do we all do that? It's not really what they said, but it hits something inside of us that either it happens all the time. We either say something really nice that like makes somebody feel really good inside, or we say something and it makes them feel bad inside. But how you feel is how you feel.
I think part of the problem in relationships, any kind of people relationships, two strangers having a discussion, whatever, is when we listen, we don't listen with the intent to understand.
Mm-hmm.
We listen so we know how to prove our point, defend our position, or deflect an accusation.
Yes.
So when someone's saying something that makes you feel like you can't listen to understand, just ask yourself, if I have nothing to prove, nothing to defend, and nothing to deflect, what's being said?
Right.
And again, that maybe will help you not attach to what's happening, but to listen to understand is a completely different listening skill.
Here's another way to say it. Here's another way I said it, and I've used it several times in our own home. If you actually think about, if everybody on this planet that is living and breathing, they're out there every single day writing their story. You, right now, are writing your story, and you have control over it. Whether you are taking control over it or not is a different story. But if you listen to somebody telling their story, it's like you're watching everybody's movie. What is that author trying to tell me? What are they trying to tell me about that story? It's about how they feel. Do you know what I mean? And instead of saying like it, so if I'm looking at it, their experience is their experience, and they're sharing with me their experience. We're listening and we're attaching our experience to theirs. So we're really not hearing them.
Right. We're listening for the point to prove that I'm right.
Yes.
We're listening for I'm defending my position. We're not listening to understand because they're speaking. What are they saying?
Right.
We internalize it through that emotional piece.
Right.
But when I heard that, and I cannot remember the name of the woman who was the one who originally started, I wrote it down in my book last night because it says The Benefit of Clear Desires. One of the things that I thought distinctly is, how many times am I trying to prove my position or defend my position when that's not the point of this? This is, how does somebody else feel? And they have the right to feel that way. So when I think about politically, I think about all the political stuff that goes on. What upsets me is, just because you believe it does not mean that I have to believe it.
Right.
Because I'm not making you believe what I believe. I believe in freedom. I believe
I'm being vulnerable enough to show you what's going on inside of me, what I think, how I perceive.
So when I lose my mind over the plaque of gender-neutral bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
Because I believe we've always had the word unisex.
Yes.
And they were actually types of bathrooms, and that meant anyone could go
or
in there.
Or it just said bathroom, restroom.
What upset me
you don't have to put
is that
half stick figure on it.
Now we had to change all the wording because now I have to agree that there's neutrality in gender, which I don't believe. And it's silly on my part because I don't have anything to prove or defend, but I wouldn't be changing my placards.
Right.
My placards would still say unisex because it's still a
right.
worthy thing.
Right.
We didn't have to go out and spend money. We didn't have to create a new sign. We didn't, but it was indicative of a bigger thing that you need to believe this new narrative that we have going on. I think that's what got me upset.
Yes.
Where you can do whatever you want with yourself. I don't think you can do whatever you want to children.
Right.
I think we have a responsibility to the children in our society because I don't think any society that doesn't protect the children, I don't think is a society, a civilized society.
Right.
I think it's an animalistic society where lions go and kill
right.
the baby lion to make new lions. Like I don't agree with that. So
territory.
But when I think
Overtaking.
of the political conversation is so difficult because everyone is trying to prove and defend instead of just listen.
Right. Right.
So if someone said, I need the sign to say gender neutral because my belief is that there's no such thing as genders,
Right.
you can totally believe that, but I'm not required to.
But pushing it out and screaming your point does not make, when you do marches and protests and all of these things, I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to an insecurity. If you've got to have a temper tantrum about proving your point,
Or that the
What's
point
going
can only
on?
be made if you believe the same way I believe.
Right.
I don't believe the earth is flat.
Right.
There are over 1 million people who believe the earth is flat. You can continue to believe the world is flat
right.
on your internet site. You can continue to
Well,
perpetuate
you
that.
know, Obama's one of his whole thing was like, teaching tolerance. Like, no, you're not teaching tolerance. Tolerance, when they were using it in that, tolerance is, hey, it's okay for me to believe something different than you, and we can still get along. That's not what they were. That's not what they were teaching tolerance. And
They were
it's like,
saying, if you disagree with me, you still have to believe me.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So to circle back, I wanted to write down. Instead of listening to with the intent to hear, we're listening to. You had 3: defend.
Prove. So you're trying to, no matter what they say, you're proving your point. Or no matter what they say, you're defending your position.
Mm-hmm.
Or no matter what they say, you're deflecting anything that is in agreement with you. So a deflection is a sneaky manipulative tactic. And when people do it, they do it really well. But so if I say, hey, you could say this to me, because I would never say this to you. Never. When you're always leaving your dishes in the sink, it makes me think that I'm your maid
Yes.
instead of just like another human being in the house. I'm not asking you to do the dishes every day, but if I've been at work for 2 days straight and you just, the dishes never get done, could you just please do the dishes for me? But what you do...
Well, but then I turn around and say, well, you never pick up your shoes. I'm always having to pick up your shoes.
Deflection.
It's deflection. I'm going to blame it. Like I can't hear. And so now I hear
well,
that.
now not only am I not, I'm defending my position, I'm proving, and I'm deflecting that there's a problem with you, not with your,
Yes.
your request
Yes.
for me to make a change.
Yes. You're being unreasonable. Don't look at me like that.
Well, you do, whatever. And
Yes.
it's like, well, this wasn't a tit for tat.
Yes.
But that's the deflection.
Yes. And it's saying, no, I cannot. I am insecure. I can't receive that. I can't receive that feedback.
And so when you're getting back to the listening part, if I'm not proving my position, if I'm not defending my position, and I'm not deflecting, I'm hearing, while you're exhausted, you do the dishes 365 days a year. You know what? I don't have to do the dishes 365 days a year. That's not my new chore. But if the same dish has been in the sink for 2 days because you've been really busy and you've been out of the house, I'll just unload and load the dishwasher.
Right.
That's what I should hear. It doesn't mean that forever going forward, I'm now the maid of the dishwasher.
But we make it so hard to communicate, even in our own homes, because there's so much of that going back and forth. Like, go back to the example about, okay, suppose this couple has renegotiated and she decides to go back out into the workforce. But is she still carrying the same responsibilities of getting the kids off to school, going grocery shopping, meal planning, and preparing the meals, and doing all of the chores that make the house run? Are you willing to pick up part of that burden too? Because she's willing to pick up your burden. She's willing to pick up that, to share your burden. Are you willing to share
Right.
in her burden? So it's going to be evenly matched, so that you're evenly yoked, or you're
pulling together.
you're balanced. You're
You're pulling together.
Yes.
Both of you are pulling the cart together forward.
yes.
Not one of you is going left. One of you is going forward. One of you is standing still.
Yeah. I wish we had time. A friend of ours wrote a post this morning, and after the conversation, we were having a conversation this morning, and the first thing I opened my Facebook feed was Thomas's post about, and it kind of gave me, like, I'd been churning on the blessings and the burdens, just the way that he decided, like, his discovery in himself about how he was showing up for his family and people in himself in business. It was just a really beautiful it was a really beautiful balance. It was really beautiful, and it was like, wow, he is an example of living. Is like they've got 7 kids. Feeding time, meal time. It's a chore. And he has stepped in, and he's like, he would hide his cooking skills because he didn't want anybody, because he was like afraid of the burden that would be placed on him if he would do that. And so he would avoid it and shy away from it. And he was just being raw and real and saying how I've been missing all these blessings. I've been missing cooking with my kids, in the kitchen lively. I've been cooking with my spouse. And I'm like, man, that's where great memories are made. It doesn't have to be a burden. You can see it as a blessing. Like, dude, we get to cook together. How freaking awesome is that? Instead of being like, oh my God, I got to go do I got to do the dishes tonight, and I got to do this. No, man, you can turn anything into magic. Anyway, I want to read something real quick about the desire. It says, fear gets in the way of our desires for the future. By tackling our fears, we also tackle our dissatisfaction with life. It's kind of what we've been talking about. As we become brave enough to achieve all the things that we desire, this is precisely what helps us grow as individuals. Finally, desire is the spark that keeps our will to live burning. Can you imagine a life where you stopped wanting things altogether? Without the desire for food, love, sex, companionship, achievement, we have nothing to get us out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. And I think people, if they ask themselves what I really desire, I think the most frightening thing is to say, not this.
What do you desire? What's one thing that you desire?
I desire adventure. And because I was going to say, I desire a boat. Right? But I don't want a boat that I have to fix constantly.
Travel, great clothes, great body.
Right. What I want is adventures. And I think, based on my previous experiences of renting boats, I think having a boat would create more adventures with the people that I love. Mm-hmm. I would see new places in the same places. I would have, so I'm a very adventuresome person. I'm a very adventurous person. I like novelty and new experience, and I'm a very open personality. So I'm also very curious, and I also bore with routine.
Yes.
So we had been talking about boat for a long time. It's a dream, but the dream is to have experiences out in nature, and to see and go and be out in another way than in the car. Because you can have road trips. You don't need a boat to have adventure.
Right.
But that was also my plane.
Or a helicopter. Or a private jet.
But they feel adventurous.
Right. So I was going to say, okay, how do I get all of the things that I want down to a singularity? I want a beautiful life. I want to live in joy. I want to live in joy, excitement, curiosity.
So you want to feel joyful.
Adventure. Yeah. Yes. I want a beautiful life. And I want to, so I wake up thinking about what kind of, I do. I try to make my life beautiful every day, whether it's the clothes I wear, whether it's the way I fix my hair, whether it's how I garden. So somebody said to me the other day, and I wrote it down, today's actions make tomorrow's memories. And I think about that because I'm big on memories. That's why my camera roll is so full, because even when I get in a bad spot, I go back and I look at all the smiles, and I look at the memories. I look at all the things that I've done, and you can't not help. So I don't want to have a bad attitude when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, and no, I don't want to feel like my home and my bills and my responsibilities are a burden. I want to see them as blessings. And I just I don't want to find somebody to grow with. I want to find people to bloom with. So because you grow old, you grow up. I don't want to grow. I want to bloom. Because, a flower spends all that time. So growing is all the work. A flower, it takes all that time. And you think about annuals, it takes all that time to grow for that fireworks show at the end. For that flower. puts all that energy into that work, that's growing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bloom, and I
Mhm.
want to find people, and I want to align myself with people who want to bloom with me.
Mhm.
To me, I think that's a beautiful life.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a beautiful
And I
life,
feel
too.
like, you know what? The older I get and the more I become aware of this, is like, I don't have time to fight you. If you don't want to bloom with me, bye-bye. I'm not going to carry it. I don't want to carry your negative energy. I don't want to be told I can't do it. I don't want to be told I'm a bad person for living my life. I don't tell anybody else how to live their life or whether you're doing it wrong.
Except everyone on the radio station.
Yes. I have the keys to life, man. I am God's wingman. I have said that a few times, but I do believe it.
I think definitely.
I think everybody could be. You know, you have to have an alignment. I think an alignment with your higher self.
Mm. Yeah, and when we were kind of talking about when you ask yourself the questions, how do I want to feel? Sometimes the first answer is not like this.
Right.
And that's okay.
Just dive deeper. Ask yourself learn to ask yourself better questions.
And ask yourself the same question every day
Right.
until you get better answers.
Right.
And ask the question a different way.
Why am I feeling this way? What part of me is upset?
Yes, because
And why?
It's always a part.
Yes.
It's not the whole. It's always a part. It may be the biggest part of you at this moment, but it's always just a part.
Gosh, we need more time for this because I
know we have a guest coming on. He is the owner of a
Rick's.
new business, and we're going to talk to him about what it's like to desire to start a business, because that's a whole nother ball of wax. So I think we can continue somewhat with the same conversation, and into, if you align yourself with your desires, you will have the motivation, energy, and inspiration to get through what are going to be all the challenges and problems that they present yourself to get to where you want to be. Like, another thing I think I want to feel is peace and contentment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always feel like striving.
Yes.
I'm a very driven person, almost to the point of problem. You know, and I feel it when I drive the car. No matter who's in front of me, if you're going 70 in the left lane, I'm like, get out. This is the passing lane. If you're going 90 and I don't go 100, but if I wanted to go 100, it's that driven. It's that
BS. I call BS. BS. You do go
no
100.
officers. I do not drive 100 on the highway. Don't be silly.
Oh, we're gonna have Logan come over and check that speedometer because I think it's rigged wrong.
Yeah, that's why I don't do that in the rental cars, because they do have that little thing that tests how fast you're going. But I do like speed. I do, but I that driven, that what's moving us forward. But stay tuned. We are coming back at the top of the hour. You were listening to Lisa and Robyn on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. We'll be back in a moment.
95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at WSMN.live.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Firefighters are battling the Hughes fire north of Los Angeles. The wildfire, fueled by dry conditions, has burned 16 square miles and forced about 50,000 evacuations or warnings. Portions of Interstate 10 in Louisiana and Florida remain closed due to snow cover this morning. The storm dubbed record snow across the Gulf Coast, giving way to frigid below freezing temperatures this morning. There's been a little more slippage in the job market.
In the week just ended, 223,000 first-time jobless claims were filed, about 2,000 more than analysts were anticipating. The biggest increases came from Michigan, California, and Texas. The number of Americans actually receiving benefits is up to 1.9 million, an increase of 46,000 from the mid-month reading.
ABC's Jim Ryan. The 2025 Academy Award nominations announced this morning. The Netflix narco musical about trans identity Emilia Perez led with 13 nominations, including Best Picture. This is ABC News.
Struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns? Owe the IRS $10,000 or more? With the IRS ramping up enforcement, taxpayers across the country are turning to tax relief helpers. Call 800-885-0622 now. End IRS stress today. Stop collection efforts, wage garnishments, and sleepless nights. Tax relief helpers can help you or your business settle your tax debt quickly and affordably. Call the Tax Relief Helpers hotline at 800-885-0622. That's 800-885-0622. Start your relief today.
Offer not valid in all states or prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Bills piling up? Rent due? Just need some extra cash to get by? Then you need to go to getcash.com, where you can get approved for a loan of up to $10,000 in minutes. No need to search through endless loan sites. Getcash.com is one of the largest lender networks. They can help anyone get up to $10,000 regardless of their credit score. Best part? The money can be in your bank account as soon as the next day. When you need fast cash help, go to getcash.com. That's getcash.com.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on WSMN 1590 AM and WSMN 95.3 FM, Nashua.
On the ice last night, the Boston Bruins fell in New Jersey. They lost to the Devils 5-1. Boston got the scoring started in the first period on a Morgan Geekie goal, his 12th of the season. The Devils scored 4 goals in the second period to take control, and they cruised to the victory. Boston will host the Senators tonight. The Boston Celtics outlasted the Clippers in Los Angeles last night in overtime, 117-113. Jaylen Brown finished the game with 25 points, while Jason Tatum added 24, and Derek White chipped in 20 for the Celtics. The Celtics, with the win, improved to 31-13 on the season. Boston has won 3 of its last 4 contests.
I'm John Thayer with the Sports Flash on WSMN 1590 AM and WSMN 95.3 FM, Nashua.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago. Servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in